to the Prophecy Club. I get a lot of emails, and by the way, if you want to send an email to me, forward some information, or simply ask a question, I really answer the emails at askstan@prophecyclub.com. I get a lot of different emails from people from time to time, and a lot of different information comes across my desk, and frankly, seldom is it that anything really shakes me. I mean, I've been around a whole lot. I've seen a whole lot in the world and also in Bible prophecy. But I just got an article that I have to say shakes me. I have to say, I have to tell you about this. I know to a certain degree you're going to say, yeah, I understand that. Maybe we need to step back and just think about what it's really saying. It comes from the Washington Free Beacon, and it's dated August 14th, 2012, 5 a.m. It says, silent running. Russian attack submarine sailed into Gulf of Mexico undetected for weeks, U.S. officials say. Now let me read the article. A Russian nuclear-powered attack submarine armed with long-range cruise missiles. All right, hold on. Wait a minute. I don't care, and I don't think you care, whether it's nuclear-powered or not. I don't care if it's burning wood. What I do care about is it able to sneak underneath any kind of detection net? Is it able to come right up next to our borders? And does it have nuclear missiles on it? Now, I have checked a lot of different places, and by the way, if you can confirm this or deny it, give me proof to the contrary, then please, again, send it to me, askstan@prophecyclub.com. I really appreciate it. Now, when George Bush was the president, he met with Putin, and I believe it was Reykjavik, and basically gave away the house. He basically said, what do you want us to do? And Bush did it. He apparently agreed to take all of the cruise missiles, the nuclear cruise missiles. Again, I don't care if the missile cruises or if it goes up to I don't care what kind of delivery system it is. I care what is on the tip of the missile. Okay, is it nuclear or is it conventional? Because conventional, it's going to destroy a house, a block or two, but it's not going to destroy an entire city and 20 miles around it like a nuclear weapon can. I understand that George Bush Jr. removed all of the nuclear weapons from all of our submarines. That's right. I have been trying to confirm that. So if you can confirm that they have been removed from our submarines, from all of our seagoing vessels, or rather, I'd prefer to hear that we still have nuclear-tipped missiles on both surface as well as submarines all around the world. I'd love to hear that we have our nuclear missiles on our seagoing vessels. We still have our nuclear missiles in land-going vessels. I'd love to hear that. But you remember the angel that spoke to Dmitri said that the fall of America would start with an internal revolution. He said the Russian spies have discovered where America stores her nuclear missiles, and they will bombard the nuclear missiles, and America will burn. You remember that part of it, okay? Let's read it again. A Russian nuclear-powered attack submarine armed with long-range cruise missiles operated undetected in the Gulf of Mexico for several weeks, and its travel in strategic U.S. waters was only confirmed after it left the region. Okay, that's like closing the gate after the cows are out, okay? If we can't detect that there is a missile getting close to the Gulf of Mexico or close to America, then we're in trouble. I mean, you understand that if a submarine is setting right off of our territorial waters, that the missile can hit land in less than 3 minutes, okay? I mean, it doesn't make any difference whether we have 15 minutes warning or 15 hours warning or really even 15 days warning. If God wants to take this nation down by using the Russians and her nuclear missiles, he'll take it down. This should really concern all of us. Now let's continue. It is only the second time since 2009 that a Russian attack submarine has patrolled so close to U.S. shores. Okay, that is not correct, because it says it is only the second time since 2009 a Russian attack submarine has patrolled so close to U.S. shores, or should it be saying It is only the second time we have been able to detect a Russian attack submarine. Okay. And instead of just a Russian attack submarine, we need to say a Russian nuclear equipped attack submarine. Okay. So bottom line, what this is saying is the Russians have a submarine that is quiet enough, stealthy enough to go wherever it wants to, be it the Gulf of Mexico, the Pacific, the Atlantic coast. It can go anywhere it wants to undetected. Now, the problem is we've heard this same thing with other nations and their submarines. There are submarines out there that we cannot detect. Are we trying to protect ourselves, or are we counting on God to protect us? Well, the whole point of 9/11 was God saying, I'm not protecting you anymore, America. And of course, the scriptures say that he will bring destruction from the north parts down upon this nation. Now, let's go on with the article. The stealth underwater incursion in the Gulf took place at the same time Russian strategic bombers made incursions into restricted U.S. airspace near Alaska and California in June and July, and highlights a growing military assertiveness by Moscow. Okay, now wait a minute. Let me see if I can put this in perspective. If someone was walking by the front of your house and they were aiming a .30-06 rifle just above your house, sometimes at your house, sometimes if you drove up in your car, if you see them walking in front of your house and they have this shotgun or this automatic rifle, or maybe they have a hand grenade hanging around their neck and they're walking up and down in front of your house, would you be concerned? What would you do? You see, that's essentially what Russia is doing. They are sending us a message if we have eyes to see and ears to hear, but apparently God has removed our eyes to see and our ears to hear, because you don't even hear it on the 6 o'clock news, and America seems to be doing nothing. I'm just guessing, but I believe I'm right in what I'm saying. I'm going to guess that America isn't even sending a letter of protest. They aren't going to the UN and protesting. They aren't picking up the red phone and saying, hey, what are you doing sending these bombers over here close to our territorial waters? What are you doing sending this nuclear cruise missile equipped submarine so close to our borders? What are you doing that? Let's put the shoe on the other foot. What would Russia do if we were sending nuclear equipped airplanes up and down the borders of Russia? Why, they would be raising Cain. They would be protesting. I mean, it would be a near threat of war. What would Russia do if we were putting our nuclear cruise missile equipped submarines up and down their coasts? Probably they would even shoot at it. I mean, they would do something. They wouldn't even just write a letter or just protest to the UN. I mean, we do something like that up next to Russia, and Bub, it's near a declaration of war. Yet, what does America do? Nada. Zip. Zilch. Zero. Nothing. Why? Because we have a Muslim in the White House. We have a communist in the White House. We have, you remember, by the way, I think this is real important. Remember, Daniel Davies, I just interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. He's out of Costa Rica, in which, by the way, I think I have him coming to speak and make a DVD. We'll talk more about that later. But you remember that the Lord spoke to him and told him that the greatest threat to America, he said it was communism. What did the angel speaking to Dmitri say? The communist will start an internal revolution. It's like there's the D words, the F words, but then there's also the C words. And on that list of C words that you're not supposed to say in America is communist, okay? Oh, we're not supposed to call people communists. Well, hey, call a spade a spade. You know, look, if the card is a spade and it's black, call it black. If it's a heart and it's red, call it red. And if it's a communist, call it a communist, okay? Call it what it is. Truth should be our shield and buckler, okay? So we not only have to tell the truth, but we also have to proclaim the truth. That's what Jesus said, what I do openly. Now, what the devil does, he always does in secret and very subtle. He was the most subtle beast of the field. So one of the things that Christians do is proclaim the truth openly. out so everybody can see it. So the truth is, yes, we have communists in our government, communists high up in high places in our government, and we have communists that are trying to destroy our military. I mean, just like letting gays into the military. And I need to probably do a whole topic on that, but I'll just simply say, here's what's wrong with having gays in our military. When you have sin in the camp, then God is not with you. The more sin you have, the less protection you have, the less blessings you have from God. In the case of Ai, you remember the men went out and like 36 men were killed, and Joshua went before God and said, hey, what's going on? I thought you were going to give us these cities. And he said, there's sin in the camp. He said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, someone has taken something they weren't supposed to take. And make a long story short, in the ground below Achan's tent, they found gold and some other artifacts. And so consequently, God was not with them supernaturally, and some of the Jews were killed. But when God is with you, you're invincible. When they had God and they were holy, the nation of Israel was invincible then. And now any nation that is holy and clean before God is invincible. The more sin we have, the more other gods we have, then the less we have God with us. It's as simple as that. And so when we allow gays in the military, our military has a lot of holes in it. God is not with it. And of course, when we allow gays, and by the way, it's not just gays, but any kind of sin. We moved from Topeka down to the Dallas area, which, by the way, I should go ahead and invite you. My wife and I pastor a church in Plano, Texas. We're on the corner of Park and K, right behind the Whataburger. The address is 2540 K Avenue, Suite 100, and that's right behind the Whataburger. And right now we'll be right back after this message. And now, back to the program. Suite 100, and that's right behind the Whataburger. And right now we have taken a vacation from our Friday night Bible study. We'll start it up again the 1st of September, but right now it's adult Bible study at 9:30 in the morning, and then the regular worship service Sunday morning at 10:30. Okay, back to the article. The stealth underwater incursion in the Gulf took place at the same time Russian strategic bombers made incursions into restricted U.S. airspace. What are we doing allowing Russian nuclear-equipped strategic bombers even close to our restricted airspace? What are we doing allowing nuclear-equipped Russian submarines in the Gulf of Mexico at all? What are we doing? It should be that we should be able to detect these, or somehow, put up a net or something. There's got to be some way that we should be able to protect ourselves. But of course, they do labor in vain that build a house unless the Lord protect it. Okay. In other words, God is not protecting America, and these kind of things happen. Let's continue. The submarine patrol also exposed what U.S. officials said were deficiencies in U.S. anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Okay. Deficiencies, I think it's a little bit more understated than it ought to be. Deficiencies, I think that what we do is have a hole in the line where Russia can come in and destroy us any time they want to, and we won't know it. It's the only kind of warning we're going to get is, honey, what is that streak up in the sky? Honey, what is that big bright spot just over the horizon? We're not going to get any kind of notice at all. They say that they can tie into our cell phones. They can make these loud sirens all across the world. They can tie in and cut into all radio and TV communications. Well, hey, when you got 3 minutes notice because the submarine is on your beaches, okay, it doesn't make any difference what you have from that point. In 1 hour, Mystery Babylon will be destroyed. Let's continue. The forces that are facing cuts under the Obama administration's plan to reduce defense spending by $487 billion over the next 10 years. Okay, so the Muslim is reducing our military so that we will be defenseless and helpless when it comes time for God to destroy us. The Navy is in charge of detecting submarines, especially those that sail under U.S. nuclear missile submarines and use undersea sensors and satellites to locate and track them. Well, obviously something's wrong, and I don't think it's that our Navy personnel are doing a poor job. I don't think it's that we have poor equipment. I think that people in high places send them to the wrong places. And, if there's a traitor among us, then it can cause real big problems. And I hate to say that obviously someplace there's some traitors. I'm not going to get too specific, but obviously something's wrong, okay? The fact that the Akula was not detected in the Gulf is cause for concern, U.S. officials said. Okay, if you got a Russian nuclear weapon-equipped submarine in the Gulf sitting on your beaches, it is more than just cause for concern. Okay, is that all you can say? Cause for concern? It's not cause for concern. It's cause for emergency. It is cause for Congress to hold a special session. It is cause for the Joint Chiefs of Staff to be gathered. It is cause for the president to say, we're near a state of war. Okay, when you've got Akula-class submarines on your beaches, you're in trouble. When you've got Russian nuclear-equipped long-range bombers in your airspace, you are almost at war. That is a near declaration of war. That's why they put those lines there and they say, you don't come past this line. If you do, we might just attack you. We will count that as a possible act of war if you cross this line. In other words, it's like a couple of bullies and one of them reaches down with a stick and says, I dare you to cross that line. And of course, that's the U.S. We scratch that line in the sand and we say, I dare you to cross that line. Well, Russia just steps right across the line, sticks their chin in the air and says, so what are you going to do about it? Well, America takes a couple of steps back, draws another line in the sand and says, I dare you to cross that line in the sand. Well, Russia steps right across it again, sticks his chin in the air and says, okay, I did. Now, what are you going to do about it? Well, that sort of thing has been going on for a number of years now, and America has just been backing down and stepping back, and consequently the Russians know our weak spots. They know what they can and cannot do. They know where they can take their submarines. They know what holes in our lines of defense that they can get through. Now, back to the article. The officials who are familiar with reports of the submarine patrol in the Gulf of Mexico said the vessel was a nuclear-powered Akula-class attack submarine, one of Russia's quietest submarines. Now, you remember the movie Hunt for Red October? Well, if you get the movie and if you actually look at some of the director comments, they say that was based on an actual incident and that apparently we still have that hunt for that Red October submarine. And yet, in other words, Russia is ahead of us. That's the point. Russia is ahead of us in nuclear submarine technology. And according to what the angel spoke to Dmitry, they're obviously ahead of us, or will be by the time they attack us here in a few short years. And we'll be able to just run all over our air defenses and drop nuclear bombs all across America. Well, you remember that Dmitry was told that he saw just the sky filled with these bombers. And the angel said, these bombers are filled with nuclear missiles, and no one and nothing will be able to stop them. In other words, they fly over America, dropping nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs, destroying us and our cities at will. Now, let's continue. A Navy spokeswoman declined to comment, but one official said the Akula operated without being detected for over a month. The Akula was built for one reason, and one reason alone: to kill U.S. Navy ballistic missile submarines and their crews, said a second U.S. official. It's a very stealthy boat, so it can sneak around and avoid detection and hope to get past any protective screen a bomber might have in place. The official said, referring to the Navy nickname for strategic missile submarines. The U.S. Navy operates a strategic submarine base at Kings Bay. The base is home port to 8 missile-firing submarines, 6 of them equipped with nuclear-tipped missiles, and 2 armed with conventional warhead missiles. Well, Russia is not concerned about our conventional warhead missiles. Russia is only concerned with our nuclear-tipped missiles. And if it is true, as I said at the beginning of this broadcast, that all nuclear-tipped missiles have been removed from all ocean-going vessels, then we are in trouble. And especially if they know this, and if we don't have any nuclear-tipped warheads in our submarines or on our sea-going vessels at all, rest assured, Russia knows it. Now, back to the article. Sending a nuclear-propelled submarine into the Gulf of Mexico or the Caribbean region is another manifestation of President Putin's demonstrating that Russia is still a player on the world's political military stage, a naval analyst and submarine warfare specialist Norman Polmar said. Do you think that Russia is just saying, hey, we're still a player on the world's political military stage? No, that's not what she is just saying. Let me read again part of what the angel spoke to Dmitry. Now, this is coming from The Bear Awakes. I won't read the whole thing, but it was spoken to him in April of 1997. He says, I saw a small bear, seemed to be half dead, lying on the ground. As I continued to watch, this bear began to breathe deeper. With every passing minute, it revived itself, and that has already been happening to the Russian bear. As I watched, it also became angrier. Now, Russia has over 310 of what they call the super deep wells, oil wells, and each oil well that is defined super deep is over 30,000 feet deep, and that means that it has tremendous pressure, squirting oil at perhaps as much as 80,000 barrels a day. So much so that about 5 years ago, Russia paid off all of her international debt. Russia actually has a good, growing economy, and unlike America, it's not a bunch of robber barons that is taking and pocketing this wealth and building a new world order. These boys, these Russians, are taking this oil money, I believe, and according to what I'm about to read, and they're building themselves a military to defeat anybody that comes against them. Now, continue. As I watched this bear, it began to breathe deeper. With every passing minute, it revived itself. That's what Russia has been doing. It's been reviving itself. I also saw it become angrier. It then began to grow. Soon it was larger than the forest floor. Means that soon Russia will be stronger than any other nation on the globe. And as it grew larger, it continued to become angrier. You see, Russia was angry at us when we took over Iraq and Afghanistan, but she pretty much said nothing. Then she became really angry when we took over Libya and Egypt, and now we're in the process of taking over Syria. And of course, our wonderful Muslim president just now openly announced that he sent covert operatives in to help these Syrian rebels. In other words, they're essentially admitting to the fact that America is behind the overthrow of Syria. Now, all of this is part of prophecy, as I've talked about before. And what is happening is we're seeing the rise of the leopard. The four wings are the four nations. The four heads are the four leaders of those four nations. And that is the third beast. You can't have the fourth beast, which is the New World Order, until you have the third beast. The third beast, those four nations, are actually five nations, but Iraq, Iran counts as one nation. And so those nations that would be part of the leopard, the caliphate, the Islamic leopard, will be Egypt, Libya, Syria, Iraq, Iran. And when we see those five nations unite, having one central God, that means Allah, or Islam is their God, while they have four different heads, they will be working together. When we see that, that is the rise of the leopard, and then we can see the formation of the New World Order. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but I am going to continue this discussion in the next program. Until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers and your gifts of support. God bless.